Hola! Well, the weather's turning, so I got my toque. That's too funny. One of the gasket companies I really enjoy dealing with, just because I trust their product. Outfit called James Gaskets, eh? And yeah, a lot of these guys, they like the kinetics and stuff. I'll use their multi-layered head gaskets and that every now and then for, depending on, they offer a better range of multi-layered head gaskets. You know, just to set up your compression. But as for the rest of them, not really a kinetic fan. So this one time I was phoning James for an order, and I saw their toques. Hey, they got their toques there. It says James on it, James Gaskets. I thought, that's cool. I says, hey, I don't see a part number for your toques. Send me a toque. And they're like, toque? What's a toque? We went around and around, and I could hear them discussing it in the office. And they were going round and around. What the hell's a toque? What's this dumb Canadian? And then finally somebody figured it out. I heard the voice in the background. It's a beanie! Oh, you want a beanie? That was too funny. Yeah, well, whatever. I didn't take this down yet. I just wanted to show you some other stuff. Now, I notice when, you know, like I'll get a little common sometimes, and I shouldn't. I'm going to work better on that, but like, you know, I mean, we all do. We're, you know, everybody does, but okay, no paperwork says anything. Okay, these magic symbols on the paperwork, these are spells. They don't say anything. The reason I call them magic symbols is when you read something, depending on how you interpret it, it can lift your spirits, or it can cause you to commit suicide, and it has. You know, people have done that. That old black magic that we love so much, right? So when I say stuff like, you know, the Constitution says, the Constitution reads, okay, all this stuff reads. And I was already talking about the word eh? And I always spell A when I say A, right? I always spell it capital A because, you know, the intellectuals like to spell it EH. And to me that looks like That is probably some university guru. I mean, oh, that thing sucks. What the hell? What the hell? Wow, I used to have a blue pen here. I must have ate it. I must have ate it. Well, some kind of gun, eh? I'll find it somewhere. It'll be somewhere. I'm working close to a small city, so maybe I'll pick up some more. Maybe I'll try again and see if I can get some markers that actually rub off. I keep buying them. This one's actually newer than the other ones. This one should. Yeah, so I believe the intellectuals, you know, they gotta spell letters. And so, you know, whenever I see EH, I think of You know, I know my kid, one of my sons, Sam, he used to just go meh. I was like, what the fuck is meh? Meh. What the hell? Okay, well, I'm not really a black fan. It's very legal. Really a legal kind of guy. Green? I'll pretend I got Martian blood. Green blood. I'll try green. What the hell? I know I got squirrels kicking around. Maybe they stole it. Oh shit. So, yeah, no, I always spell it A. But anyways, so yeah, like, paperwork always reads. And I mean, if somebody's putting in the hot box and they're you know, wherever, like if you're at a meeting or, you know, if you're standing at court, and there's a difference between at and in, I'd like to get to. But before I do that, I wanted to show you this. Now, everyone, right? Everyone. So, everyone. That could be anyone, because it's the one. The one, right? And so that's you know, I am the one. I am the only one. I am unique. I'm just the same as everyone else, but I'm also unique. And so there's only one of me, and I am the one, you know. So, like, you know, I like the way Carl puts it, you know, like, no matter what your belief is, like everybody believes. I mean, it's a fundamental part of mankind. You know, it's impossible for man not to believe something. And no matter what you believe is, you know, whether we came from the one big bang, you know, the one tadpole swimming in the sea that became a professor with a PhD, you know, one God, one creator. I don't know if you've ever hung out with any native folks. You know, they have, most of the guys I know, they have similar creation stories. And it's really interesting. I was studying, and really hard to find stuff, but the pagan creation story out of, like, say, the Norway area, the Viking area, and that was really interesting. You know, so I mean, the pagan creation story talks about the three godheads that were standing around deciding to make man and crossed. You know, they believe that life is in the sperm, whereas you know, the basic belief of Judeo-Christianity is in the blood, right? And so they believe it's in the sperm, and the sperm of a goat and sperm of a monkey or an ape or whatever, they could actually coincide. They were the same, and so they crossed an ape with a goat and got man. But in the beginning of their story says that the Godhead was, you know, discussing man. Well, if you look into the Bible, you'll find the Bible does, you know, reads about the same stuff. You know, so yeah, it's just I find this stuff interesting. And you know, I get labeled shit all the time. You know, ever since I was a kid, I was labeled. Always labeled. Always said, you can't, you're labeled. You know, I always thought that profiling someone was unlawful. At least it was not, you know, not of good intent, not of good manners. But I mean, is it lawful to profile for a public servant, a policy enforcement officer, to profile any man or woman, you know, and just go after them because they're profiled? It never used to be. But things are getting weird. Like, our nation, our society, or the Canadian society, and our nation, like, things are getting weird. Like, it's almost like we're going to blow up. Like, you saw that, who was that Chinese ambassador dude? the other day threatening us to take this Huawei 5G thing so that they can keep their tabs on us. How much control does the Chinese government have over these sellouts? These prime citizens, these prime candidates, these Jughead, Crazy May, Manchild, and Casper Milquetoast. How much dirt do they have on these guys, like, to control them? Like, I remember a nation that we used to call Canada. If somebody like that, I don't care if they were the States or somebody from China or wherever, ever threatened us, we'd tell them to go fuck themselves. And if they don't like it, come on over here and we'll deal with you. I remember this nation being a tough bunch of folks. Like, you didn't mess with our women. They'd kick your ass. It's like, we had to be tough because this was a tough place to carve out a nation. The weather is tough. The land itself is tough. We were tough characters. Did you know our national drink for, I think, about 250 years, our national alcoholic drink was called moose piss? Does anybody know that? Yeah, it's because, like, to survive, we had, cows or goats, or milk. We would try to have something, or some kind of livestock that produced milk for our survival. And so what Whitey used to do back in the day, no matter whether you're Anglo or Franco or, we used to ferment the milk, and you had to be really, really careful. Because it could kill you if it went bad. But like that, moose piss was our national drink, alcoholic beverage. Right up to, I think, the early 1800s, guys. So they probably didn't teach you that in school either. Anyways, getting back to this. So I left this up because I just wanted to show you a couple of stuff. You see, when we're going over here, the freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including. Now, if I was writing this document and I wanted to use the word, to make the word to include something, kind of multiple sounding, and use the ing, I would have put some brackets around it. Now, I don't know if everybody, I would presume that most anybody that watches my stuff understands the four-corner rule, right? So, but I'll get to that. So ing, any word with ing, it means sometime in the future. Sometime in the future, right? So when whoever wrote this, some mysterious man or woman from the corporate body, inner city of London, Crown, Parliament, Britain, who knows? I don't know. When I think of paperwork coming from Mary Old across the pond, I think of somebody with some kind of wig, curly wig on, so including, ing, that's a future tense word. So is this a trick? Is this a trick? Including freedom of the press. So, like, we don't have freedom of the press at this moment, but sometime in the future, because including? Or is it written in the matter of just common, including? Like the way you and I would catch it just talking to each other. And this is why I don't trust the legal society. This is why I don't trust attorneys, because they turn things around. Like I've said many times, we speak in words, right? These are the magical symbols of our words, okay? They speak in terms. They don't speak in words. They have terms, right? So, yeah. So, you know, if this is a legal document, does that mean that we don't really have the freedom of press at this time? But maybe sometime at some time in the future we will. You know, following. There it is. You know, like they could have said everyone has the fundamental freedoms that follow, and then went this way. So this is like if you ever read the human rights covenants, the two that we put into law. Everybody always goes on about the Declaration of Human Rights. Oh, that's not law. It was just something that they wrote, they wrote down and said, okay, this is what we're going to aspire to, and one day we're going to put this into law. And like I say, Canada signed. We have two covenants, that two legal documents, two human rights covenants that Canada did put into law in one in 1976 and one in 1977, and it's full of, you know, I see a lot of trickery in that. You know, I enjoyed reading Canadian Bill of Rights. Oh, that's just so funny. It's just so funny. Yeah, I think it was 1962, not 52. 1960. Hey, 1960. But, yeah, and what titles? You know, the human rights, like, geez, you know, the UN is so simplistic, eh? International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Okay, that's not so bad, but the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. But every time I try to recall these titles, you know, I go, what's that covenant again? You know, because I always go the ICCPR or the ICESCR. Fuck it, it sounds like a Russian title, you know, when these guys abbreviate. So, oh geez, but like, you know, you'll find this stuff in the covenants, you know. I'm just going to pick one I didn't, but they use the word shall. Shall is a future word, you know. It's sometime I shall, and sometime in the future. You know, I will, sometime in the future. You know, tomorrow never comes. And I noticed that in a lot of these, and so that's why, like, if anybody's dealing with the establishment, and say, you got to remember that for every law that's enacted, there's a codification of the law, and so the complete law is not there, and so this is why it's important that, you know, if someone hauls your ass into a public building, a public court building, and you know, they're saying you broke the law, you know, I have a right to see this law. You know, well, the criminal code says this. Well, okay, is that the law, or is that a codification of the law? What is missing from the codification? What did the man or woman, or those of mankind that works for Thompson's, that codified this law, what did they leave out? Like, what am I missing? You know, it leaves it. Look, if you're gonna use the court system to take somebody's rights away, to basically to cause harm. Now, the legal society looks at, well, no, to see, because it's a person, we're going to benefit you. It's a benefit. I even had a judge say that to me. He was kind of a cool judge. He was an older guy who wore the wig and everything. You know, he wasn't into tomfoolery at all. But you know, some guy was trying to serve me something right in the courtroom, and I'm looking at this guy, and you know, he's, I don't know, he's a tall, skinny, goofy-looking dude, and I mean that in the sense of dude. And I've told you my interpretation of dude. Uh, but you know, he's just this tall, goofy dude, and he was mad, and he was stomping, and he was spitting and kind of yelling at me, trying to force me to take some kind of document, and you know, and so this judge looks at me and he goes, you know, he goes, Al, you know, you may want to, you know, I'm not going to tell you word for word what he said, but he said in these words also that you may want to take that because it would be, you know, it may be a benefit. And so 2 key words. So I looked at I looked at the man in the black robe, and I pointed over to this big goofy clown, and I says, I want nothing of that man. I believe that man does wish to cause me harm. And the magistrate was good with that. And there was a reason for it. Because that man, I don't care what title that man held, that man has no right to cause any harm to any other man. But the thing is, you know, that the man in the black robe, you know, saying, hey, I believe it'll be a benefit to you, you know, or it could be a benefit. Well, and this is what I'm saying, that the corporate body, politic, the establishment, you know, these are all benefits that they offer us. And as a man or a woman that was bore free of this land, from this land, we all have a choice whether we wish to benefit from our public service, from the establishment, or not. Now, I believe that's you know, and like I say, I'm a pragmatist. Okay, I can believe something today, but I may believe the opposite tomorrow if it's proven to me. If I, you know, intelligently look at something, I see something else, and I go, oh, maybe my belief was not correct. You know, so I have my, you know, my mind, my will, and my emotions working together as best as I can, trying to keep them in balance, to be able to judge, you know. Like, you know, that's one thing about the churches there, that one thing I can't stand, because it's such, and I'm not, you know, I'm not disrespecting people's faiths or religions. It's just, you know, you hear stuff like, oh, don't judge, lest I be judged. Well, the context of that word that I believe it meant was, don't condemn your fellow man, because you're condemning yourself by doing it. I even had a dream about that once, and you know, I woke up totally in shame. You know, there was a guy, and I don't like the guy. He was a rat. He worked for the government, and he also sold motorcycle parts out of his garage, and you know, and whatever. I mean, whatever. He was doing whatever he was doing. But you know, the part I didn't like about the guy was, you know, he ratted out a single mom that had, you know, a few pot plants, right? He worked for child welfare. He wasn't even going. Now, this is a guy that grew dope himself, that would claim to be an outlaw biker, but he worked for child services, child welfare, and he was at the house next door, and he seen a couple of buckets, you know, outside the neighbor's house that happened to be a single mom, and so, you know, I just, you know, vehemently did not like this man at all, you know. And I used to have, when I had my shop in the city, and yeah, no, I didn't want to see that guy at all. Don't cross my threshold. No, I don't want anybody thinking that you might be cool because I let you into my place of business. No, you're not hanging out here. So I had this dream that I was talking on a two-way radio, okay, like a shortwave or whatever, to one of our soldiers he was in, I think it was the second Iraq war, the first, anyways, it was over in the Middle East, and they were at war, and there was a war going on around them, and we were talking, and I just came out with my, my righteous indignation over that, and how I vehemently hated this guy, and the veteran, who was, I don't know who he was exactly in my dream, who he was to me, but he was somebody close. And he said, Al, he says, that's the guy that saved my life. And then I went, oh, I just woke up in shame. And it's like the first thing that was on me and within me was, what the fuck am I doing, prejudging, because I didn't know all the circumstance. I just, I vehemently don't like rats. Everybody today is a rat, it seems, sometimes you call them mandated court reporters. And anybody who does work for the establishment is mandated to report anything they see that's illegal. The only problem is there's so many bad laws on the books now that are totally against. Pretty much the bad laws on the books that I've seen are the ones that leave it open for the establishment, the Gestapo, some policy enforcement officer to come into your privacy and just attack you. Simple as that, because somebody said something about something. I've helped a couple of Polish immigrants over the years come into Canada, and back in the day. And believe me, man, if you ever want to know about police state, talk to somebody that came here from communist Poland. And so everything I see this de facto government doing is exactly what was going on over in communist Poland. Trust me, folks, you don't want that. I don't know anyone, any self-respecting man or woman, that does wish that upon this land. Oh, it'd be bad. That's darkness, man. It's just complete darkness. And everyone over there was a rat. Back in the communist days, pretty much you were mandated to be a rat, and that's what I see him doing here. So, yeah. So I it's a policy of mine, personally, not to prejudge people, and I just look. I may not believe anything they're saying. I might believe something they're saying. I don't have Carl's talent for just making people after talking to him for a few minutes. But I do live by my grandfather's philosophy. Give them enough rope. Just give them just enough rope so they can hang themselves. And that is a philosophy I agree on. I said that to a guy once I was doing some stuff with, and he took it to heart, and guess what? His intentions weren't good, and that's why it bothered him so much. So obviously that relationship didn't last very long. So you're watching out for anything like ED and ING. All right. Anytime because ED is always past tense, and ING is always future tense. So when you're writing something, especially to a public servant, some man or woman who acts for the establishment or a corporation, you gotta always take into mind, like this document that I'm writing here, that I've written or I do write, may end up at a public forum, at a public courthouse one day, right? So, and like I say, a lot of these, because we are so dumbed down, and the education system is just like fucked. There's no critical thinking. You're not allowed to ask questions. It's basically like obey and do. Our kids are not taught to think outside the box. And if you do, they probably fill them with Ritalin and sit them in the back corner with the dunce cap somewhere. So so always watch your EDs and INGs when you wish to write something.